what you grabbed? Can I see this? Okay. Now your breath all good. Mine is hot. Hey, Paige. Paige is our first viewer. We should start giving out.
What up, y'all? What up? We back on the Go Podcast. It's your boy, your host, Pop.
And your girl, Tina. What's up, guys?
Happy Sunday, man. We back at it, man. Once again, we appreciate all our viewers tuning in today on this beautiful Sunday, Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
God bless you guys.
Yes.
It's been a rough week, but guys got to do this. We woke up this morning, and you guys are here with us, taking the time out your day to tune in to On The Go Podcast, and we want to start to say, we want to give a shout out to all the people that's on the front line dealing with this coronavirus at this time. And also we want to give a huge shout out to, all the responders, man, and everybody else that's, that's helping out and working around the clock, and everybody at the grocery store is working.
Truck
it's
drivers, the mailman. No one's ever thought like your mailman is continuing to always deliver regardless of what is going on. So shout out to everybody. Shout out to you guys for joining us. Thank you for everyone who's been waiting to the very minute for 6 o'clock to come. I appreciate you guys.
Dope. We appreciate you guys. But, first of all, I want you guys to, shout out to Facebook for tuning in, y'all. What's up, Facebook?
We here. We got double screens.
We got double screens going on, guys. We got Instagram Live. We got Facebook Live going on.
Yes, hey, fam.
In all due respect, I want to give them, we want to do a huge moment of silence. I want everybody that's viewing right now to take the time out to do a moment of silence for everyone that passed away this week, through this month of April and in the month of March, through the coronavirus and just death in general. We want to definitely do a moment of silence real fast. Just take the time out to close your eyes and do a moment of silence, and then we're going to rock out with y'all. All right, ready? Go. Let's go.
All right.
Appreciate that. Definitely important to do that for our fallen shoulders. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we're definitely grateful and blessed to have you guys tune into us, and we want to dive into it. Today's show is based on about trauma. As you guys don't know and aware that this month is a lot of different awarenesses that we're going to shed light on and talk about. It's also National Sexual Assault Month. We're going to discuss some topics on that. Also, it's National Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's also Alcohol Awareness Month. And it's Autism Awareness Month. And I'm wearing blue to represent autism awareness. Yes. You know what I'm saying? All day long. Anybody that knows me know that my heart is deep into that awareness. I raised a lot of money helping that cause out. I did a lot of events in the community. But, we'll talk about that in the near future. I just wanted to shed that light on that. Shout out to all the mothers and dads and teachers that's dealing with the kids who are on the spectrum. Shout out to y'all. First of all, we want to get to the main topic of National Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. And, my co-host Tina here has definitely want to shed light on her experiences of dealing with, her battle with sexual abuse and child abuse. And I'm going to let her speak on it today, and I will have some questions for her. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask, throw them in the comments.
Yes.
I'll be viewing y'all, y'all comments, and I'll be answering back. We want to give her the platform. This is what the podcast is about, to shed light on different awarenesses and, also, shed light and spread the truth on what's going on in our community.
Right.
And definitely want to empower you guys and shed light on a lot of good topics. All right. So I'm going to let you take the time out to address, what you want to talk about.
So earlier this week, we, stepped into the month of April, and we were looking at all the awarenesses that are happening this month. And I was just like, you know what, this is what we have our podcast for. Like, this is what we need to be bringing up, these kind of topics. And so, I said I would start off the month with talking about the National Sexual Assault Awareness and just child abuse prevention. So where do we start? I guess, the question is, what is trauma? And I feel like trauma is a word that we use so often that we also, exaggerate it to the point where it's not meaningful anymore. We go somewhere and be like, oh my God, I was so traumatized because the line was long. And I think in this nation, in this community, we really need to take a step back and think about the words that we're using when we're using them, because trauma is a serious thing.
Yes.
I think, we're all impacted in some way, maybe more than others. And so I'm going to be sharing my story today. And I just want to say, before I start, if at any point this is too heavy for you, you are more than welcome to leave the podcast. You can send us, DMs. If you want to share stuff with us, we're going to have tons of links after this video for those who feel like they need the extra support. And I just want to thank you guys for even listening to my story. And please, lift me up as I'm talking, because this is not something that I do on a regular. But, here we go.
First of all, before you go, I just want to say how proud I am of you taking the time out to share this to the world. And I want you guys to also encourage her, because it takes courage and to be brave and have the Spirit of God in you to want to be able to share your story, to able to uplift other women and men out there who are suffering with the same issue, to be able to come forward. For you to do this is definitely a big situation. So I'm really proud of you, and I want you to rock out and share your story, girl. Let's rock out today, man. On the Go Podcast. Let's go.
All right. So I'm gonna start off with the statistics, just a few numbers. And I want you guys to think about some of the things as I'm saying it. So, in America, more than 42 million Americans are survivors of some kind of sexual trauma.
Wow.
And then if you put that on a smaller scale, 1 in 3 girls and 1 of 5 boys will experience sexual abuse before their 18th birthday.
Wow, that's deep. I think, to those numbers is definitely a deep number, because I think for so many years we've dealt with so many children on this scale of not able to shed light on this situation, because people are afraid to shed light on it. And also, they always say, when something like that is done to a child, it's always from someone that you really, really know.
Right. See, he jumping ahead.
No, I'm just, I'm just chiming in a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to leave you hanging.
But no, just like Poppy has said, 95% of abuse is preventable, and that's just through this, like what we're doing right now, making it, raising awareness to allow other people to know, like, this is really happening. I think the beauty in trauma is that it has no eyes. I mean, it can affect anyone of any race, of any socioeconomic status, of any religion, any culture. This is something that happens to all of us. Just like coronavirus. I know we were listening earlier today, and we were saying, like, it's impacted. It doesn't care if you're black, white, brown, yellow, tall, fat. And it's the same for trauma. And so, the question is, what is sexual abuse? Sexual abuse is hands-on, meaning being molested, being physically raped in some kind of way, or hands-off. And that can be, the perpetrator. And I'm going to use terms like perpetrator and victim. A perpetrator is a person who's doing the actual abuse, and then the victim is the person that they're targeting. So in hands-off, it can be someone who is, maybe sitting in the corner and they're masturbating, or they're making the child sit down with them and watch porn, or just, having a child in the room while you're having sex is incorrect. So please be mindful of the things that I'm sharing as we go along. So as I said, this is part of my trauma story. And, my first encounter with sexual abuse would probably be around the age 5 or 6.
Wow.
And I say 5 or 6 because, we don't really remember 3 or 4. So I don't want to say that maybe it didn't happen at that age, but I remember specifically being around the age of 5 or 6.
Man, I mean, I know I said I was going to give it a platform to really talk right quick, but I feel like I have to chime in because it's very, very deep. For someone who's a dad and has nieces and nephews, it's definitely a tough thing to listen to. My daughter, as everyone knows, that I've always advocated and brag about my daughter a lot, who's 21 years old. I've always tried my best to protect her from these things, and as a dad and her mom, as we growing up, we've always made sure that we try to protect her the best way possible, and also educate her to let her know, like, it's okay if someone ever violates you in those ways. Don't be afraid to advocate and let us know. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times victims are told, if you open your mouth, they'll be hurt, or their family members will be hurt.
Right. So in my case, I think my mother at the time, and I love my mom, I believe she's watching today. I told her that it's important that she supports me in watching this episode. But, my mom would sometimes leave me with people that she felt that she trusted. She felt they were her friends. And within that home, they had a set of older boys. Again, I was only 5 or 6, and the perpetrator at this time, he had to have been in his teenage years because he was old enough, to be, he seemed like he was growing into adulthood. I can't say that I really remember his face. I remember other things about him. But like I said, I was with trusted family members or trusted friends that my mom had left me with. And I remember just like one night being woken out of my sleep, brought into a room in the back of the apartment and feeling, and this is when like your senses are heightened. So like I can remember that the room was warm, and I can remember that, the TV was on. How loud was the TV? It was low enough where you can hear somebody was coming down the hallway. So he had the room set up already.
Man.
And
I'm sorry, guys.
I know.
Once again,
it's heavy.
It's heavy, and once, for our viewers who are definitely tuning in right now, and people who just tuned in, our topic today is about trauma, and she's definitely she's discussing what trauma looks like to her, and this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Abuse Awareness Month.
Yep.
And she's telling details of her experiences as a child dealing with a sexual abuse pervert.
Right.
I must say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like, how are you a therapist and you've gone through, XYZ? But I do feel like these are the experiences of my life that have kind of shaped me to who I am today. And so back to what happened, I always describe it as the 5 senses. So I felt that the room was warm, and I could hear that the TV was low. And then there's the smell. I can smell weed in the room and taste. I could taste sweat. And so, I won't go into details of what happened, but I use this, I guess, that moment as an example because you never really forget your first time that you were abused. And we always think about, I remember my first time I lost my virginity, or I remember my first kiss. For someone who has taken, has gotten that right taken away, you never forget it, just like your first love, but in like a such a toxic and tragic way. And unfortunately, that moment for me was kind of like an introduction to a series of moments with this person, with, a family member, with a female. Please don't ever think that, same-sex abuse doesn't happen, because it does. And don't ever think that a woman can't sexually abuse a boy, because it can happen that way also. And it happened for so long that it became normal, like you almost want to please that person so that they don't hurt you or that they don't tell your family, because then in some way you're the person that's wrong. And that's how I felt for a very long time. Like I was the dirty person, not the person that was hurting me.
So one of our viewers on Facebook asked, did you ever tell someone?
So that goes into signs of abuse. I didn't tell anyone for a long time. A lot of it was because I was ashamed, and I was always afraid that, I did something to make them want to hurt me in that way. Like, did I smile too much? Was I, was I inviting of that? And at 5 or 6 years old, and this happened from 5 until 15, you're young. You don't really know how to tell someone. And that kind of goes into my next point, which is, if the person is not able to tell you, how do you know what the signs are?
And I was just about to ask you that. How do you know what the signs are? Like, because sometimes, and I want you to also I want you to stress to our viewers, and parents are watching, and uncles and aunts and cousins, because me as a father, I'm always stressing to my sister about, leaving my niece with anybody. And all due respect, everybody, I want you guys to really understand something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because this is definitely, it's a heavy topic, but it's a topic that needs to be discussed.
It needs to be discussed.
Because it's definitely happening a lot in our communities, and nobody tends to like to address it because it's a domino effect. Because what it does is it affects a lot of people. It damages a lot of relationships. But you know what? It has to stop somewhere, because I guarantee you, her abuser, right? Am I correctly? Her abuser, I'm sure, probably was abused also.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's a domino effect.
Yeah.
And what happens is, a family member trusted him, and from talking to other children who've been abused or abusers, sometimes a lot of young men and women at that age are not fully developed mentally.
Right.
They must be developed with their age and their bodies, but not mentally.
Right.
So his mental state, he looking at you as probably somebody on his level. Maybe, I'm not sure, but as a therapist, I'm sure you probably heard these stories.
Oh, I mean, and I think that's probably one of the hardest things. And we're gonna get back into signs and symptoms, but I think as a therapist now, to sit on the other side and have to hear the same story over again, it triggers you in so many ways. Like, there are some times where I may cry in my sessions with my clients, and my partner, I believe she's joined in on us. Hi, Angela. Like, she knows, like, there are times where I have to say, like, this is my breaking point. Like, I need a moment because it reminds me of so much. And we have this segment broken into points, and I don't want us to rush through, so it's going to be really hard to stay on track.
But we like we said, like, we're going to give it to you raw and real, and that's what this podcast is about, being raw and real and spreading awareness.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important, again, like, this is the month of raising awareness. It's important to share these moments because, the abuser, unfortunately, they may never remember what happened. I could have been one of 10 other girls that they've touched, or, again, I'm not going to go into specifics, but I'm just one of many that they may have abused. But for me, like, that moment will always resonate in my relationships and how I interact with people, or even just like how I am by myself. So raising awareness, it allows us to give a voice to the people who have been victimized. So
I guess back to what the
signs.
What are the signs you think? Like, do you how would you be able to tell for a parent? For myself, if I have a little young girl or a young son,
your son,
what would
your
be the
nieces,
signs?
your nephews. I mean, some of the first immediate signs is there's going to be a change in their normal activities. So things that they used to enjoy, maybe they seem more like to themselves, they're isolating, they're not they don't want to like go out and play with their friends anymore. That's usually like the first signs that something has been happening. But then there are some other things that we don't expect, where there's like the acting out behaviors. Now you have a child who was, super happy and playful, but now they're being disrespectful. They're not listening to their parents. They're not, following rules and directions. And you just seem like, what is going on? Like, your attitude has changed. Then it can be in some of our regressive behaviors. And those are the behaviors where you go back into like a child. So for me, I started biting my nails. And it's funny because I just took off the acrylic off my nails today, and I was saying, like, dang, I need to get my nails painted really soon because I don't like to bite my nails. But for me, that was my regressive behavior.
Okay.
It could be thumb sucking. It can be a child is starting to wet the bed out of nowhere, or, they're having nightmares, or they don't want to eat anymore. In some like extreme cases, it can be a child taking their feces and smearing it on the wall, or sexualized behaviors. I have seen in some of my clients where they start masturbating randomly, or they're always taking their clothes off because we have the idea and the assumption that they're afraid of their abusers, but sometimes these kids start to like fantasize and fall in love. The same as, a woman that's in a domestic violence situation. It's like, why don't you ever leave your abuser? Why do you keep coming back to them? It's that same mentality.
So my thing to you is, you've been dealing with this from 5 to 15, about a stretch of 10 years, right? So throughout those 10 years, what was your mindset at that time through those years, moving on as a young girl, how were you able to focus on your school and other activities that you were probably doing outside of your home?
So that's important that you ask that, because in a time like right now where we have the coronavirus happening, these kids are now locked in their house with their abuser, where they don't have the option to go to school.
So we hold on. We're gonna get back to that, Brittany. Yep. Our topic today is on trauma, and we're talking about Sexual Abuse Awareness Month.
Yes.
And we're talking about her experiences dealing with sexual abuse. Her experiences dealing with that.
And sorry if we interrupt. We want to make sure that we're interactive with our viewers during the time that we're talking. But yeah, like I was saying, for some people, like going to school, going to church, trying to make your routine normal, it helps you so that you're not thinking about what's happening. So yes, I did go to church. I did, everyone knows I sang, I praise dance, I had great grades, but I also had some other stuff that was going on in like the background that a lot of people weren't seeing, where I was very depressed. I did cry a lot. I clinged on to like the wrong boys because I wanted them to notice me. I had a moment where I did try cutting and having self-injurious behaviors, and it's hard. Like, you literally feel like that you are not important. And that's how I felt for 10 years. Like, I wasn't important. And this person, because there was one particular person who stayed in my life for the longest, and he always sought me out. And, it's almost like he knew where I was. He knew what I was doing after school. He was friends with my mom. He called himself my godfather. So, like, he would come pick me up, and my mom didn't think anything of it because this is a relationship that she trusted for me and for her. So, someone said, is he in jail now? It's funny because he's not in jail.
Did you ever report this person? Like, does anybody else knew about it? Was there any investigation or anything involved?
No.
It was just something that just...
I got to an age where I could start saying, like, nah, I don't want this person around me anymore. So I kind of broke ties. And he would call, and, like, you could block the phone call. I mean, luckily it was back then where there wasn't, like, FaceTime and heavy social media. But I just cut all ties with him. And I never reported him. This is kind of, like, one of the first platforms that I'm even speaking about it.
Wow. First, listen, I just want to commend you because the people are just... I'm, like...
Yeah.
Watching some of the comments on Instagram right now, like, that's why I keep looking down at everybody. I'm trying to be fair to everybody that's commenting and also asking questions. I just want to thank you. I got to commend you again. Everybody else is saying the same thing. It takes a really strong woman with the faith of God, because I think the reason why you're strong and you on this platform is because God has a position for you in this world to be able to advocate this situation and also spread awareness and also uplift other young women out there who are battling with the same thing. Where if they're watching this right now, they are encouraged and empowered. And if parents, if you're watching this, if you're a parent or if you're an aunt, uncle, godfather, please, this is something that I think everybody needs to really appreciate. That this young lady right here, Latina, my co-host, is taking the time out to really address this because it's something that's very important. And I really, again, commend you for it, the deep down in my heart. And I'm sure everybody else there is cheering you on right now, because I'm watching these comments. You're doing a wonderful job by addressing this. And I want to say, for someone who's known you, you definitely are an inspiration. And definitely a woman of God, because we always talk about our stories, sharing how God sent us so many messages and has a platform for us. And my question to you is, how did you remain keeping your faith, knowing that you grew up in a church home and knowing that you were violated by someone close to your home? Like, how did you keep your faith up high? Have you, like, to this day, like, what kept your faith up?
So, I mean, to keep it 100, and someone asked what happened to him, just the backstory of that. So, no, I never reported, but I did hear, through other people that he ended up getting very sick over time.
Karma's a bitch.
Karma is a bitch. And yes, I cannot say, like, for me, I didn't, but that was one person. Remember, you guys have to remember, he's not the only person. I did confront somebody else at a later time, but for him, he's sick, he's dying. So, I mean, I feel like God is gonna give him his judgment regardless.
Absolutely.
And I think that, through the work that I'm doing, I may not have been able to face people who have physically hurt me, but I'm empowering the girls that I work with every day.
Yeah. Let's give her a round of applause for that. Let's definitely give her a round of applause. I have to really, really like commend you for saying what you just said, because that's deep. You know what I mean? And like I said, it takes courage and faith to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you. But to go back to the church, I got to an age where I was like, I'm not dealing with church anymore. And I stopped going for probably like 4 or 5 years. Like, it was between the ages of like 18 and 23. Like, I would go, but I wouldn't go as consistent. And everyone knows, like, Tina's the church girl. Like, my grandfather's the reverend. My pastor is like very close to me. I see him as my second dad. And I just got to a point where I was like, I'm not going anymore, because I lost my faith. Like, you will really question God and be like, how can I be such a follower of you and you allow these things to happen to me? And so for a very long time, I was angry. I was angry at my family. I wouldn't talk to certain people that used to be very close to me. And I noticed that the further away I strayed from church, the worst of the worst circumstances happened. Like, getting into fights. Yes, I have fought before. Getting into fights and being robbed, and like your car being I had like my tires flattened before. Just like the worst of the worst situations happened where God literally was like, you need to come back.
Well, I mean,
you need to come back right now.
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think in hard times,
yeah,
when we're going through rough situations, the devil will talk to us and lead us outside of our faith, because we tend to forget that God is always in control of the will.
Yes.
And I think what's going on right now today with this coronavirus is a reset button that God has put in place to say, you know what? For so long, ladies and gentlemen, that we've always favored a higher power more than God. And what I mean by that,
drugs, and how many likes do I have, and let's get my body done over. Yes. Not even,
and also we favored our jobs and our bosses
and our partners
in being relationships, and we never put God first. Never. So this is a time to sit down and say, you know what? It's time to get our faith back on track and put God in place and say, you know what, God, I trust in you, and we're going to put you in position to bring a cure to this situation, and we know that you are full control, and we know that you are the man to reset us and put us back into what we need is faith. Because if you have faith, there's no fear.
Right.
And I think with your situation, you tend to let fear take over.
Absolutely.
And you lost faith, and all these things started unraveling.
Yes, and not only did I like lose faith, but I started straying into like the wrong relationships and looking for someone to save me, and that it kind of goes into like my I call it the silence decades, where like a lot of my trauma played out in my attachments, not just with like guys that I talked to or guys that I dated, but like who I was being friends with and what was I surrounding myself around. Like, I wasn't listening to the gospel, I wasn't praying, I wasn't doing none of that. I was dating the wrong dude. I got pregnant at 18, and mind you, I love my children. And even that relationship was just it's a whole nother segment. But like, I call it the silence decade, because I spent the first 10 years being abused, and then the next 10 years not saying anything. And that was like a really dark time. And now going into my third decade of life, like, this is my speak out moment. So I wanted to say, like, your trauma, it never stops shaping you. Once you have a traumatic issue, it's a part of you. So either you take it and wear it and be like, oh, woe is me, or you take it and you wear it as a cape and be like, you know what? This shit has just made me stronger, and this is what I'm going to do, to fight back. So I don't know if that kind of answered your question.
It kind of answered my question.
Yeah.
Also, my other question to you is, what was it like always looking at your mom every single day, knowing that you were dealing with this and you didn't know how to address it, but did you point fingers at her saying that she was the reason why you were sexually abused?
I mean, I don't talk about my mom a lot, but you know, we were living in a time where it was the 90s, and 90s is heavy drugs, and you know, I lived on the hill. People that were closest to my mom were like drug dealers, and she got herself into a lot of stuff that affected our family. And so we did ended up being in the foster care system, and I mean, that alone just broke apart my relationship with her. So for a long time, I wouldn't even tell people who my mom was. Like, if you knew she was my mom, cool. But like, if you were just meeting me, I just wouldn't bring her around, or I wouldn't talk about her. I was very angry. Very, very angry at my mom. I mean, and as I got older, like, we would get into arguments. We've gotten into like fist fights. Again, that goes back into that acting out behavior. She thought I just was smelling myself. I know y'all heard that term, but like, it was really hard for me to say to my mom, like, your trauma brought trauma to your children. And so, I mean, as I got older, I was able to say to her, like, listen, we got to stop, because we're hurting each other and it's not doing anybody any good. So I did tell her what happened. I mean, and I almost didn't want to tell her, because then it's like telling your parent, like, I'm blaming you for what happened to me. And I truly believe that my mom did the best that she could for me and my siblings at that time, regardless of how it looked or how things played out. She was, again, a person that had her own trauma, and she was just trying to do her best for us. But my mom now is like my biggest supporter. She's around for everything. She holds me down. You know, she's around for my children. She is 20 plus years clean and sober, and so like, right.
Come on, man. You got you know, a round of applause for that. That's dope.
Again, it's another moment that shaped our story. Like, and I tell everyone all the time, like, yo, you have all these scars, but you could tell somebody, like, yo, I went to war for these scars. Whatever that war is for you. It may not have been sexually abused. It may have been, you know, having a physical illness at any time in your life. I don't know. Or, you know, losing someone. Like, we're going to talk about loss and grief throughout the month of April. Or maybe you overcame, you know, some kind of drug addiction. Like, we need to stop hiding who we are. Like, vulnerability does not mean that you're weak. Vulnerability means that you've experienced something and that you have a story to tell.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Amen to that. Amen to that. For real. That's big. But, you know, like I said, like, you're definitely a strong woman.
Thank you.
And I definitely applaud you for that. You know, my other thing about that is, like, what advice would you give to a victim out there who don't know where to go, what to turn to? If they don't have God to turn to, or a parent or a friend, what advice would you give them? Like, because I see that what you've been through for the past over 15 years, and what God has done to you, you're well educated, well spoken, very beautiful, have two beautiful children, you're very independent, you have all these great qualities as a woman. How did you get this far, especially dealing with your trauma? So, because basically right now, guys, the show topic is about trauma, right? And how to overcome trauma.
Yeah.
So I'm asking her is to get to where you are now, you're about to be 30 soon, right? So how did you get to this point? Like, what steps did you take to get to this point? And how were you able to stay focused this long?
I definitely say it starts with, and sorry, we're readjusting because we got the two screens. I definitely say it starts with having a support system. Like, I am nothing without my friends, my family, my church, and God. I mean, like, I got to a point where I damn near came back to church, like, literally on my knees. Like, I needed to be saved. I got re-baptized. I was baptized young as a kid because that was what I was supposed to do. But as I got older, you know, like, I literally came back to God. But then there are some people who maybe don't have, like, the religious aspect. I want to say, like, trauma, you want to treat it like a disease. When you go through a traumatic situation, it automatically affects your nervous system, right? So your entire body is, like, shaken up like an egg. And the first thing you want to do is get back into normalizing your body. And it's like grounding. So if you're not into going to church and maybe you don't have a strong support system, the first thing I always say is get into some kind of activity that, you know, works out your body, whether that's exercising, yoga, meditation. Like, your body has gone through such a shocking moment that you want to kind of like reset it. Definitely getting back into like a healthy eating pattern, and also being mindful of who you're attaching yourself to, because a lot of people don't realize when you've gone through a sexual trauma, you could either not want to engage in sex, or the opposite, where you have sex all the time with the wrong people. Doesn't mean that you're nasty or you're being a hoe or you're being like a thought or whatever the term is, and it's not being promiscuous. You kind of keep searching for that feeling because it's like your body on drugs. You look out for the sex. Like, the sex makes you feel good.
It's like a dopamine.
It is. It's,
you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Like it's nothing that you intentionally are doing because like, and again, ladies and gentlemen, and especially to all my men out there who are following this podcast, you know, when we are around women who are giving their bodies up to men, we got to stop saying that these women are hoes and sluts, because we don't know their backstory.
Yeah, you don't know their backstory. But I definitely would say, you know, always seek help if you feel like you can't do it on your own. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. We need to normalize going to a therapist, whether you're in the white community, the black community, the Asian community. Therapy is good. Yeah. It is helpful. It creates a safe environment for you.
I can vouch for that, because I'm definitely seeing a therapist dealing with a lot of mental trauma that I've been dealing with for the past, not just 3 years, but throughout my life. Ever since I was a child, growing up in the neighborhood. And I also, you know what I mean, just to jump in, just to give you some support, you know what I mean, as your co-host.
Thank
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of dealt with a little bit of sexual abuse trauma, but I took it as if it was cool. And I'm going to tell you why. When I was about 14 years old, you know, I was dealing with an older woman who was in her late 30s. At the time, I thought it was cool. You know what I mean? Because as a young man, you don't look at it as abuse. You look at it as, man, I scored on an older woman.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm good. But not realizing it takes a huge effect down the line of my life, because it really shapes you on how you view your relationships down the line. When I got into relationships with other women, you know what I mean? It kind of messes you up mentally, and you don't realize it until you go seek help for it, and you start dissecting your behavior. So I started seeing a lot of my behaviors throughout my life as I became sexually active at 13, but I got involved with older women, I believe at 15, I believe, about 15, and it kind of messed me up in a sense, because it made me view things differently. It showed me a different way to respect women, and I started going on a sex rampage. Where I started sleeping with a lot of women. You know what I mean? So I kind of resonate about where you're coming from, but for so long I was in denial about it was abuse, because from our neighborhoods, we're not taught what abuse is.
No, we're not.
Especially as young men. No. You're not told to be said, oh, you was abused by, if you had sex with an older woman, you get pound from your homies.
Fist
you know what I mean? Fist pump, even from your uncles. Yeah, little man, good job.
And that goes back to that statistic that I said in the beginning. Don't think because 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys before 18 means that boys aren't being abused. It just means that these boys are not speaking out. Either they're embarrassed, because again, same-sex abuse happens, or they thought that it was supposed to. Like, yeah, I'm supposed to have sex at 10. I'm a man now. Like, no, abuse is abuse. If it's, whether it's statutory, whether it's molestation, whether it's having them watch porn in the corner, or in my experience, the guy would sit over in another part of the room and would have mirrors set up where he could see me. I'm watching my cartoons and he's, whacking off. That's abuse. Abuse. And I'm not sharing this to make you guys sad. Again, I'm sharing this because our platform is here to be raw, uncut, and to, be a voice for maybe others that don't have that voice. So please take this and feel like that, okay, I'm more aware, and maybe I see it in my own family.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like she said, is we're not on here to share stories and talk about our experiences to for no one to feel sorry for us. It's definitely we realize that God has gave us a platform to share and to create change. And if we, with all our viewers that are viewing from Facebook to Instagram, you know, the 20 to 30, 40 people, if we can change 1 or 2 lives, we've done our job.
We've done our job, yeah.
If we can impact and also share information that can change somebody else's life, or have someone aware, and also just give someone the courage, the opportunity to be able to share their story just like you are doing. That's very, very important. Yeah. And that's what we're here for, guys. Yeah. That's it.
You had said at one point, you know, like, let's not and I'm rephrasing, but like, let's not automatically assume that the perpetrator or the pervert is just a terrible person. And it took me a long time, especially like going through school and taking all the psych classes, it took me a long time to stop looking at them like, you did this, you did that, but like, why did you do that? You know, who did that to you, or where did you learn that from? Because hurt people really do hurt people.
Exactly. Hurt people hurt other people, and that's what it is.
We even and I like to argue like borderline personality and psychopaths and the nature versus nurture, because I don't believe that everyone was born evil, or anyone was born evil. I don't think that was God's like intentions when he created us. I think we all were created pure, and you know, something could have happened from neonatal up until the first few years of life. But I do think that we're all exposed to something that kind of creates a monster in somebody. I just don't think that you're born and you're automatically evil. And I don't know. Y'all can argue. Let me know if you feel the same way or you disagree.
I agree with you to a certain extent, because you know, you're a very innocent human being when you're in your mom's womb, right? So once you come out, your learned behaviors and everything comes from what you experience. Absolutely. And what you're taught.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, for a prime example, people who are racist, you don't come out your womb automatically racist.
No.
These are behaviors that you're taught. You're told this stuff to people who you grew up around. You know what I mean?
My 4-year-old came home, or no, I picked up my 4-year-old, this is before Corona, picked him up from school, and he was like, "Mom, look, me and Ellie are twins." And I'm just like, this is a little white boy. And I'm like, you guys are twins. You like the same things. You wear the same things. You play together. You're twins. Like, children don't see that until we start teaching them.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
It's definitely learned behaviors.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you know, it's important for us to sit our children down and educate them, and also have them aware of their surroundings, man. Yeah. We gotta go back to the essence of sitting down with our children at the table and talking to them.
Yes.
And this is the time to do it.
Yes.
During the quarantine.
Yes.
Take the time out to sit with your kids and talk to them. Get to know what they're going through emotionally, mentally, physically, everything, because it's very important to know what your kids are doing, because what's going on outside that they doing that you wouldn't know, this is the time to find out, because they're not out. They shouldn't be outside. They should be inside, and this is the time to bond with your kids, like we said in our last podcast. Is take this time out to bond with your children, bond with your significant other, your family members. I see a lot of people are doing Zoom chats and bonding with their family members and also friends. That's a great way to do it, man. You know, take the time out to learn during this quarantine time.
That goes into, like, I mean, how do we prevent it? Again, awareness is 95% the best way to prevent this from happening, but also having that conversation. One, don't push your child to tell you something. And if they do come to you, you listen to them and you support them. Even if, I mean, for one, you should never say to your child, "I don't believe that someone touched you." Like, that is the number one thing you do not say.
And you never, and also
Absolutely
too, never blame them.
Never blame.
A lot of children always get blamed.
Never accuse them. Oh my God, so many stories I have heard, even around that. Like, you listen to them, you give them support. The best way to give someone support, I always teach my parents, is you give eye contact, you nod your head, and you paraphrase. You can say, you know, "So what I'm hearing you say is so-and-so did blah, blah, blah." And then allow the child to tell you, like, "Yes, this is what you're hearing," or "This is correct." And then there's 1 hotline that you can call, Or, I mean, there's tons of social services in your towns. There's child guidance. There's Family and Children's Agency. And all my coworkers were out there that are watching. Hey, guys. 211, honestly, 211 is your number one go-to for anything. Not just, like, abuse. If you need financial support, if you need food in your home, any kind of resources, 211 would be your number one. I just want to read, someone that gave us a statistic. Laura M. Lopez from Facebook said...
Laura, what's up? That's my homie from West Hill, man. How you doing, Laura? Miss you. Love you. I hope you are doing well. You are healthy and safe.
Mm-hmm. She says, statistics provided in Boy Scout leadership training, 80% of all crime stems from people who were sexually abused as a child.
Wow. That's a great statistic. Laura, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yes.
It's deep, guys. It's really deep, man. And like I said, prior to this, there's different lines of sexual abuse and we don't realize it until it hits home. And, unfortunately, my co-host, my partner, Latina, she wanted to take the time out to address that and share it with you guys. I think it's a blessing that she even using this platform to address it and, to provide information for any victims out there and any abusers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For them to be aware of, like, what they're doing wrong. And they also can get help if you need any help.
Yeah.
There's hotlines for that. There's people that you can go talk to in the churches, I'm sure. There's ways to get help, guys. Let's not sugarcoat this and let's not be a blind eye to it.
Someone had said, kind of on the lines of, what if they're not at the age to really say what happened? There's something that we use called play therapy where watch how your children are playing with their dolls or playing with their toys.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're gonna reenact what's happening to them in some kind of way. A child should never be wanting to take off the undergarments of their doll. And it may not be anything, but, you don't want to take a blind eye to anything.
That's all it is.
Right.
It may not be the fact that your child has experienced sexual abuse, but it could be, just don't be a blind eye to it.
Right. And then it also starts, if you say, like, oh, they're too young, so then teach them at an early age. Like, I tell my littlest one, no one touches your underwear unless it's mommy or daddy. And if you're staying at another, person's house, and they only really stay at my mom's or his mom's house, like, they also know, like, no one touches your pants or anywhere on you except for mommy or daddy, unless we've been given, permission to. And I also tell him, like, this is your pee-pee, no, teach them what these are. These are your sensitive areas, and only certain people have that right. And if they're not that person, you need to let me know. Your children will listen to you if you teach them at a young age, if you have that conversation. Don't be afraid
to talk to your children, guys. Don't be afraid, because like my thing is, we don't want your children to go through what she went through for over 15 years. Correct? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she ended up turning out to be a wonderful person, and also to use her platform to work with children that are suffering with these abuses.
Yeah.
And also, also using her platform to be my partner to have this podcast and where we could address certain things.
Yeah.
So, like I said, man, I thank you again.
Thank
you.
The
viewers who are watching are commenting away on the podcast chat room, saying that they really appreciate your courage,
guys.
And you're brave for this, man. And listen, man, I hope that we're able to touch lives out there, and we're also able to open up eyes and ears to parents and uncles and cousins that about your story.
Thank you.
This is a wonderful opportunity for you to do. I encourage you again that you keep doing this, and hopefully that God will lead you in a bigger scale to share it with millions of others out there.
That's what I'm hoping
for. We're not going to say
That's
hope.
right. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You got to put positivity into the universe.
Yes.
God will bless you. He's going to put you in a certain position to be able to use your voice and your platform to share with other young women and men out there.
Thank you.
This is dope. And like I said, anybody has any questions, y'all more than welcome to comment on here.
Yes.
We would definitely answer them as best as possible that we can. We appreciate everybody following us, man. This is dope. If you don't have Instagram, please get one now. Follow on the go _podcast we trying to get to 100. Our goal is to
Right.
get to 100.
Right.
Each week we're trying to get more and more people to follow
see
us.
your whole face.
What's up?
Listen,
You know what I mean?
Facebook, we've been
Facebook.
struggling because you can't put it this way and then you can't see us completely, so now we got it this way. We're gonna figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Listen,
every week, like, we're hustling to get this show together, and all these topics that come in from our viewers, like, we're listening to you guys, we're learning from you. If we said something out of context, we're always going back and looking at our comments. Because again, this podcast is nothing without you guys.
absolutely.
I'm so happy that everyone joined in today, and I'm really like, when we get to 500, we gonna do something.
No, we're gonna do something special. By the time we get to
Definitely.
500, hopefully, and in
Quarantine
Jesus'
is
name,
over.
no, God is gonna bring down
Yes.
a cure for this.
Yes, he is.
That's who I'm trusting
Yes, he
in.
is.
In the name of
Hold-
Jesus,
move
we're
this
covered.
way.
We're covered in the blood of Jesus, and
Yes.
that's what I'm walking with. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
We cover the blood of Jesus, and I need everybody to stress that. We need the whole world to pray together
Yes.
to bring this light back to the world that we are missing. All we can do is have faith and shed light on how powerful and wonderful God is. He's our leader.
Yes.
He's in control. There's not one man on this earth that's in control but God.
Oh, no.
Don't let this president or anybody tell you anything different. God is in control, and he has definitely a cure for this.
Absolutely.
And he will bless all of us if
Absolutely.
we put him first and we put our faith first before fear.
Yes, yes.
But, we want to get back. I got another question for you. For the
Okay.
viewers who are checking in right now.
Okay.
Again, the topic is trauma, and we're talking about sexual abuse.
And child abuse.
And child abuse.
Prevention.
Prevention.
Yes.
This is a month of awareness of these situations. And, my co-host, Tina, she's definitely was a victim of sexual abuse, and she's been talking about it, sharing her experiences, and also giving us a little bit of details of what happened and how she's able to overcome, her trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And why she, her overcoming her trauma, she's able to say that she's going to use this platform to discuss and talk about her abuse. And
Yeah.
my question to you is, where do you go from here after this?
Oh, that's a good one. See, I had all these notes. I like to be prepared.
I got them coming, man. We still got enough time.
Where do you
We
go
got
from
9
here?
minutes left, guys. Tell a friend, tell somebody to follow our podcast on Instagram. We need more followers. Let's go, man. Where do you go from here with your platform? Where do you go from here with your story?
I mean,
How do you encourage other young women and men out here?
What's my 5-year plan? I mean,
Now,
on a
what's your plan?
larger-
What's your plan tomorrow? Forget 5 years.
My
Because
plan
5 years ain't
tomorrow-
promised.
You know what? I start every day with like praying and just thanking God for giving me another breath.
Amen.
Because,
Amen to that.
we don't know what happens tomorrow. I think, I took my trauma.
Pastor Jackson, what's up?
I took my trauma and it is now turned into my passion. And so, like, where do I go from here? I really hope that, within the years to come, I'm going to be speaking on a platform that's nationwide. I think that we need...
Yes. Put that out there in the universe.
We need more people who look like us, who are speaking up for us. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Like
2020, for everyone that's following us on Instagram,
Yes.
Facebook,
Twitter. I think Twitter is out there.
I will. So I beg to you guys, use your platform to create change.
Yes.
2020 is not about the coronavirus. It's
No.
about what you can do to make change within your community and make change within yourself.
Within yourself.
Within yourself.
Within yourself.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
Challenge yourself.
material things is awesome. I love my Louis bags. I love to dress up, but like
You can't take that with you 6 feet under.
none of that matters, because when you're by yourself, and I wanted to talk about triggers and stuff, but when you're by yourself and those moments of trauma comes back to you, like, your Louis bag is not gonna make you feel better.
The money in your bank account don't make you.
None of that.
None of that count.
It doesn't matter anymore. I mean, you really have to sit with yourself and tell yourself, like, baby girl, you the shit. And that's what I started doing. Like, I started speaking better to myself. I started being honest to myself. I started saying, like, my life is not defined by the people who have hurt me, the people who have left me, and it's damn sure not defined by, like,
Amen.
past
Amen.
circumstances. Like, that's not me. That's not who I
Tell
am.
'em.
Like, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor.
Yes.
So,
High five to that. High five.
wait, lefties.
Lefties.
We're lefties,
lefties,
we're
man. We
brothers.
We're brothers and sisters and brothers. Nah, but real talk, man. Listen, man. I've always said that dealing with my trauma, and I'm gonna address that later on. You know, in a few weeks.
So we gotta tell them. So every week it's gonna be a different series. So this week was, child abuse and sexual assault. Next week we're gonna talk about the National Alcohol Awareness, and Poppy's gonna be sharing his sobriety story. So
exactly. I will be addressing that next week.
Yes.
And come full loaded with questions. I will answer anybody's questions on how I dealt with my sobriety. I'm 195 days sober today. Woo! God is good. I tell you right now, ain't nothing without God.
I remember when you hit your 100th day, and I was like,
congratulations.
Can you believe that it's almost been another 100 days?
Man, I can't believe it some days. I like I said, man, God is good, ladies and gentlemen. God is great.
Yes.
God has put me in a great position to be where I am.
This is just the beginning.
This the beginning for greatness.
Yes.
This is the beginning of greatness. And I'm telling y'all, if you got God in front of you and you put him and you talk to him every single day, every single second of the day, there's nothing that you cannot overachieve.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
I think you had posted earlier, you had said, we're looking for God in everything when we need to start looking for God in ourselves.
Woo.
Our word teaches us to, faith is nothing without acts. So we need to start putting in our actions of what we're doing and not just sitting for God, sitting and waiting for God to heal us. No, God gave us the word. He gave us the materials. We have it there in the book. And now all we got to do is put in the work.
Amen.
Put in the work.
Yes.
Don't be afraid. Just know that God He's got your back. Our story has already been written. And isn't that the beautiful part? God already knows what's going to happen. All you have to do is just keep trucking. Just keep moving forward. Just keep pushing.
Keep pushing.
Keep pushing.
Keep reading the word.
Yes.
Keep praising him no matter what. I don't care where you are.
Oh my God.
I don't care. Just listen. You got to take key to this. The same way you guys listen to songs and certain things get you a hype.
Yes. Or you at a basketball game and you cheering for your team. Listen, everyone knows.
God should make you feel the same way we talk about. I am a crier.
I will throw my hands up and start crying and saying, thank you, God. Anywhere I go, I have no fears. If I could twerk my behind off at the club, I can raise my hands and praise God. In the grocery store, at work, wherever you need to go. We need to stop being fearful of praising God.
Yes. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to share and talk to him, no matter where you are. There's times where I'm walking down the street and I'm talking to myself, but I'm really talking to God. And I'm really telling him I appreciate him for letting me wake up today. I appreciate him for letting me walk, have my health.
Yes.
I appreciate him for me even be able to have income to come in and provide for my family and myself. I always big him up. Don't ever cry to him when you're going through things. Cry to him when you're going through good things.
Everything is great.
Seriously.
Everything is great.
Pray to him when you're going through good things.
Yes.
Pray for others. You know what I'm saying? Pray for others' health. Pray for others' achievements. Everything, man. God is amazing, man. And I'm telling you from my experiences, man, he's have done wonderful things in my life. And I really appreciate him so much, and I'm looking forward to many more things that he has for me and yourself and this podcast
and
my organization, Young Athletes for Change, $1 Million Smile, everything that's coming forward. Like I said, it's full circle, man. Next week we're gonna be talking about alcoholism, how I dealt with my sobriety. We're gonna be discussing that, and then a week after that, this is a touchy situation. It's a heavy situation, but I'm gonna be addressing the anniversary of my brother. My brother passed away April 20th of 2017. This month, April 20th, will mark 3 years, and I will have a huge hour of discussion about my brother's case, about what happened, and we got 2 big special guests that's going to be appearing. So tune in. April 19th, Max's anniversary, his 3-year anniversary due to his death, and I'm going to have 2 special guests, and these will be our 2 first guests that's going to appear. That's going to appear on our show. It's going to be a really, really deep conversation.
Yeah.
But it definitely needs to happen. Like I said, this platform is for us to spread awareness.
Yeah, and we want to be the voice for our community. So again, we're coming down to our last minute. I hate when we have
we got 1 more minute.
Hey, please.
Woo.
If you ever want to hear a topic or you want to leave us a comment that maybe we can talk about on the next segment, don't hesitate to DM us, text us, email us, all of our information. Please share our podcast page.
Yes. Tell a friend, tell a friend.
We were
Come on.
we're almost at 100. And I think
I got a personal Instagram. I got 500 views on my stories. Come on. I need all my thousands of followers on my WP Joseph. Follow the podcast, y'all.
You know what
Show
I think
love.
we should do?
Share.
For our next episode, our first viewer to log in at 6 o'clock, we're gonna give y'all something.
Yes.
We're gonna give you some kind of gift card of some sort.
Gotcha.
So you gotta stay tuned.
So almost time for us to go. Hey, I just want to say before we go, tune in next week at 6 p.m. This is my girl Tina. She did a wonderful job. Give her a round of applause for her sharing her story on her sexual abuse. And also, it's National Autism Awareness Month. Wear your blue.